like this, so they wonder, they asking me if I can slow it
What
down.
is up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Card Talk, episode 11. It is New Year's Eve. I'm here with Coleman Cards once again. Shia has college apps, so he's not going to be able to make it tonight, but we hope he does well on those applications. How you feeling, Coleman? How are you doing today, brother?
Feeling great, man. Feeling great. Back in the swing of things after the Christmas holiday, and now ready for a brand new year.
I just want to jump right into it. I feel like we haven't done this pod in like a while, but it's only been like 2 days. But we had one listener ask this question that I thought was really interesting, just because we're always doing a lot of deals, specifically at Burbank. But this person asked for this. He wanted to know for this episode, would you guys mind discussing some of the nuances that are necessary when making deals? He said, for example, if I wanted a LeBron James Topps Chrome PSA 9, and I have a Luka Doncic Prism base PSA 10, and a Tatum base Prism PSA 10, and a Michael Porter Jr. Prism Silver 10, how much in value would that get at Burbank? Or it could be any dealer. And how much more in cash would I need to add? I'm just going to jump in real quick, and I'm going to say, just from experience, if you're ever trying, like a perfect example was me and you, Coleman. We did a deal. You had a LeBron James Topps Chrome PSA 9, and I had similar stuff, younger guys, right? I had Zions, I think some Donovan Mitchell, stuff like that. So what we did, and what happens a lot when those deals come about, me as a person trying to get the best card in the deal has to be able to give Coleman, right, better value, because he's breaking his stuff down. So the key, I think, with that is making sure that what you're giving them is super liquid. And the second thing is you're probably going to have to give more value than the other person if you're trying to get the biggest card. But you can jump in, Coleman.
Yeah, I agree. So that's 100% true. So basically how this deal worked that we did, it was a LeBron James Topps Chrome PSA 9. It was a perfectly centered one. The prices vary on those. So right now, the average price is probably like $4K. Maybe it's gone up a little bit. I'm not sure. But we agreed to $4K. I was talking about how like I could probably get $4,200 value for it because it's a perfectly centered one, which is totally fine. The range on it at the time was probably $3,800 to $4,200. So I could have tried to play hardball and said, look, you're trading up. We're sticking at the high value, $4,200. Obviously, we've done a bunch of deals and stuff like that. I have no problem with just going right in the middle at 4K on the value. You traded 4 cards and a little bit of cash. You traded me all modern guys, Donovan Mitchell and Zion Williamson. It wasn't all just base cards, though. You traded me 3 base cards, and you traded me a Zion Mosaic Purple PSA 10 out of 49. That was like the wild card, the thing that was enticing enough for me to want to do the deal, even though I'm trading down and I'm taking cards back and giving you a little bit of value at 4K, maybe, arguably. So yeah, just like you said, with like the Zion Prism 10s, I think at the time they were like $800. So we just called that 800. The Donovan Mitchells, they were arguably anywhere from 380 to 400. We just called them 385. And then the purple Mosaic, we called 2,300, which felt pretty good on both sides. You were happy about it because you had just picked it up and you were locking in some value real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's like if you got the bigger card, especially if it's a GOAT like LeBron, you're kind of in the driver's seat, and the other person should give a little bit of leeway. But that being said, if I'm the other person, I'm trying to max out value on my side. I'm trying to say, hey, look, if the Zion is anywhere from 880 to 920, I got to get 920 on the Zion because I think the Zion's, whatever. Like I think the Zion's going up, whatever. You want to try and get as much value as you can, but at the same time, you have to realize what you're doing. What you're doing is you're trading up. So therefore, if you really want to make it happen, you should probably go somewhere on the lower side of that, depending what it is. But yeah, I mean, like, it's all case by case basis. If it's somebody you haven't dealt with before, it's going to go a lot different than someone that you've dealt with a lot. Everyone's different in their sensibilities. Some people are in positions to where they want to trade down. Some people are in positions where they want to trade up. Yep. You were looking to trade up. I was looking to trade down. Makes it so it's pretty smooth. So I mean, like the big thing is just figuring out what the other person wants, right? Like if you figure out what they want and you know what you want, you can probably get maybe a little bit more than you were bargaining for. based off the fact that they really want to do it. If they don't want to do it, you're going to have to give a little bit more than you would want to give because you're the one initiating.
Yeah. And I think that like, you want, like, you don't just want to bring your primary cards. I would say if you're going in for a trade, you want to bring like sugar on top cards too, right? That you could throw in, mix up, change around, especially if you're trading up. Because let's say you go to Burbank, right? And you're going to Ryan, you know, he's the dealer, right? So you have to go to him and figure out at the same time, what does he want? What could you work around to get him to strike a deal?
Absolutely. And, you know, with Ryan, like he's basically, if in casino terms, he's the house.
Yeah.
So basically, like, you know, the house always wins, but you can get what you want out of the deal too. You just gotta, you know, it doesn't mean like Ryan's as fair as it comes. It's
no, yeah, he's super fair.
Ryan's
100%.
as fair as it comes. It's just Ryan also knows what he's doing, and he's willing to give a little bit of, you know, leeway here and there too. But he's gonna basically make sure that he's getting taken care of, you know, while you're getting what you want too.
Yeah, and like if you want to bring, like you want to bring, I want people to understand this. You want to bring liquid things that like if I'm trading down, right, I need, you know, Luka, Trae, whatever stuff that I know that I could sell the next day, right? So like if you're bringing things that are just like, oh yeah, like last comp was you know, $200 and there's like 50 of them listed at 200, nobody's buying, like that's not probably going to work out in your best interest. If you're bringing modern, if you're bringing you know, Prism, that sort of stuff, graded PSA 10s, PSA 9s, stuff like that, that you can do well with.
Absolutely. And to jump on that some more, yeah, like so if it's 200, but it's probably more like 190 or 180 because there's a million listed and, you know, maybe it's not something that's moving right now, you know, going at 190 or 180 is fine. If you can get 200, great. But you probably can't come into it too saying, look, I need 220 on it. When it's like, no, there's a bunch listed and, you know, I could buy one right now on eBay for 200. So like, I can't give you 220 value on it, especially if you're trading up or whatnot. But I was going to say real quick too, there's a great book that people should look into because there's so much psychology when it comes to bargaining and making trades and stuff. There's a great book by Rich Voss. I think it's Rich Voss, I think. Maybe it's Chris Voss. I don't know. It's called Never Split the Difference. And basically he was a hostage negotiator for the FBI. And so basically he would have to go into situations with extremely hostile people and literally negotiate and convince them to agree to what he wanted, which is like, it's basically an impossible task. But if you read that book, there's all kinds of ways that you can kind of just like tap into the psychology of how humans work and stuff and how we work to be able to go into an arena of, hey, I'm trying to make a trade to, you know, it's not so much to manipulate people as it is to just kind of understand the psychology and help somebody get what they want while you're getting what you want too, and making them feel heard and understood and stuff. It gets really, you know, hippy dippy and psychological, but I would definitely recommend books like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the key, man, is just figuring out what people want. Right. So like, and that's the beauty of social media. Like if we're doing deals, most likely we're doing deals that are with people in the card world, in the card industry on social media. So you can just see what they're picking up and be like, okay, like they like Zion or they like Trae or they really like, you know, insert Jordan stuff. Like that's probably what would appease them to get a deal done. So there's that narrative too. I mean, and just like, again, I think one of the other biggest things is connections and building that following, whether that's on Instagram, whether that's on Facebook, that reputation. Because then you just have a scenario where, hey, me and Coleman have done a bunch of deals together and, you know, we're very comfortable, you know, just being reasonable and knowing what each other want and getting deals done within a quick amount of time. Cause that's also the biggest thing too. You don't want to be sitting there for like an hour and a half and trying to negotiate, you know, that's time where you could be doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other deals. So, you know, if I see Coleman, right, and I see 2 other people that I don't know, and I'm trying to get a deal done, I'm going to Coleman because I've done a deal with him because I know it's going to be quick because I know what he wants. He knows what I want. So I think that comes into play as well.
Absolutely. Like, you know, I can go to a card show now and I basically know probably like 70 to 80% of the people there. And I know who I can do deals with, who I can't. it doesn't mean that I can't do deals with them. It's just that why would I do a deal with them when I know that they're going to play hardball with me and they're not super easy to work with when I can go up to these other people that I've worked with before and know that I can get a deal done. I might not be able to get the exact card I want because the other people have it, but there's always a card that, you want. So there's a lot that goes into it and stuff. We could talk all night long about the nuances of trading and stuff, especially when you're talking about things with low pop, things that don't have comps, right?
That's the best right there.
The Zion Purple Mosaic, right? There was no comps for it. Like we had to basically just pin a value on it that we agree on, that we both feel comfortable about. Comfortable about, and then go from there. So there's all kinds of stuff.
100%. I want to move into, I don't know if you've been following this, Colin, but Tiger Woods cards in the last 3, 4, 5 days have gone absolutely insane. I know there's a documentary coming out, I think early January, so just a week, maybe 2 weeks away. But I forgot the specific card it was, but I believe it was a $200 card just a couple months ago. And now it's selling over $1,000. A lot of people are kind of relating it to the Jordan, the Bulls documentary. But I know for this specific, I believe it's Upper Deck. It's
his Upper Deck PSA 10.
Yeah, I believe the pop report is
sky high.
Yeah, sky high. So I just wanted to kind of take your take about it currently right now. How you feeling about it so far?
I don't really have a good opinion, just because my buddy hit me up and was just like, hey man, Tiger Woods stuff has gone berserk. Did you see? And I hadn't even known. And then this is the second time I've heard about it. So I'm sure it's just a similar situation. I mean, to me, that means I'm staying extremely far away from it. There's no way I'm touching that right now if it moved that fast. Because, we're probably going to see something just like the Michael Jordan documentary, if not worse, where this super common card that there's a lot of shoots up and goes 5x. There's no way it can sustain that. There's just too many of them out there. People are going to keep trying to cash in. The price is going to go down. So
yeah, I think this is the time where it's hey, look, lock in some profits if you bought in early, right? And if you're buying now, make sure you can sell it tomorrow, right?
And if you really want the car back, I guarantee you can buy it back 6 months from now for a cheaper price. And I'll put a guarantee on it. You can DM me.
Coleman will pay you the difference if it doesn't.
I won't pay the difference, but I will definitely do something nice for you.
I like the take. I think we're very similar on the Tiger stuff. I want to go into KD a little bit because KD's Topps.com refractor. I have a friend that got an offer for $28,000. This is a different friend than last time. Got an offer for $28,000 for that card. Mm-hmm. I think in might have been episode 8 or 7. We were talking about how there was the KD refractor sale at $16K. We didn't know if it was real, but now 28 does seem real to me. I don't know what you're because these private and to reference a lot of these fractional ownership companies are buying. I believe, I don't know if this is for sure, but I believe are the ones probably buying up these refractor 10s. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted to touch on the KD market because I just think it's so interesting because it's just one of those cards that have gone up a ton recently, just like the Trae stuff. And I just wanted to get your take on it. Are you currently buying KD right now, or are you looking only for specific stuff?
I cashed out of a couple of my KDs. I'm not, I still have some. I'm not really looking for anything. Just because, and this is just me, at the beginning of every season, there's a bunch of hype. It swells over into the beginning of the season, and then
see it dip.
And then we see it dip. And then usually midway through the season, there's kind of a sustained, low point. And then as playoffs start to happen, things build up. Again, it's a completely different market. It's evolved completely differently now, but that's still something that holds true in some areas. So I personally look at the Kevin Durant stuff a little bit with that lens, that we've seen the stuff kind of jump up because Kevin Durant came out and the Nets just destroyed a couple of teams. But I'm telling you right now, if you bought, after that first 2 games that they won, you're not feeling great right now because they lost 2 games right after that, and they got beat by the Hornets, and the Hornets they're scrappy, they're playing good, I get it, but that team has a long way to go to prove itself. And on top of it, we keep hearing these Harden talks, and now Denver is saying they are interested in doing a multi-team trade, and not receiving Harden. The only way that works, in my opinion, means that Denver is moving Michael Porter Jr. They're not moving him to – they're going to move him to like the Rockets or something. And Bill Simmons said this a while ago, so I can't take credit for it because I heard him say it, and then I was like, that's not it is kind of plausible. And now it looks like it's actually circulating in like league sources where Michael Porter Jr. would go to the Rockets, Harden would go to the Nets, and the Nets would give up a bunch of their like good assets like Allen and LeVert to the Nuggets, and then maybe some of it to the Rockets too.
That potentially might work. Damn. Yeah,
like it would be a big free team trade. But my point with all this is that if Harden goes to the Nets, now it's a situation where it's like a super team, right? Which is exactly what KD was trying to get away from with the Warriors, right? To go prove himself on his own team. So I don't know, like I get that there's fractional investing going on and stuff, buying up all these, but at the same time, like at the end of the day, it's driven by collectors. It's driven by people who invest that have a collector mentality and even an investing mentality. Is KD going to get the credit that we are putting his way right now? If Harden goes to that team and they're able to win one, like then it's Kyrie, Harden, and KD. Like,
well, I think like, look, like if you're spending $28,000, you can make a safer play and just buy LeBron or Kobe or Jordan, right? Stuff like that. I think the thing that people really like about Durant is there's still room with him. If he does win a championship this year, if he does, ball out this year and get the Nets, it's all about the if he, because there's still room with that. But if you're spending $28,000, it is a little bit more risky because there could be like, if he doesn't, then what happens? So I think that's like the appeasing part with KD. And I've been talking to a couple people about this too. I'm like, like, where do you have like if KD didn't win a championship ever again, where does he fall in like the hobbies ranking? Not like the basketball world, but more of like, where does it fall in the hobbies ranking? Will his stuff still be widely respected, or would it kind of see not as much like appreciation like the LeBron, Kobe, Jordan stuff?
He's gonna be like little brother to that, and it's not really even close, in my opinion. Like if if the Nets get busted in the second round and they're not able to do anything, he needs to like have some real legacy defining things, in my opinion, just because, people want to say like, oh, well, KD's like almost as good as LeBron and stuff and this and that and the other. But it's like LeBron's about to smash every record that ever existed. He might get his 5th ring. Like he gets his 5th ring. All of a sudden he's one away from Jordan, like it's going to start getting like, I personally already think LeBron is past the point of being the greatest player of all time over Jordan. Yeah, I do. I mean, but like, so peak of powers, no, Jordan. I mean, he's 6-0.
But LeBron has the longevity game he can play to say he's
right. The same reason why Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in the discussion of GOAT is because of longevity. Like LeBron's going to have that, like he's going to have that in spades because he's going to have that. He's going to have all the records. He's going to have the rings. 3 titles on 3 different teams as the best player, finals MVP. So yeah, I don't think it's really even close between Kevin Durant and LeBron. Kevin Durant needs to do a lot, but I would just say that like right now, Kevin Durant is somebody that if you have a lot of money, then you can make that bet and mess around with that. I have some KD stuff. I'm not looking to buy a KD refractor PSA 10 at 28K. I'm just not. Even though we saw the LeBron just do 94K last night, right? Like that's insane. We were talking a couple shows ago about if the KD was like 20 and the LeBron is like 60, like that's about fair. So, but there's room for the KD to maybe go to like halfway. So like maybe 30 or something. But now if the LeBron is 90, I mean, does that give, clearance for the KD to move to like 30 or 40? I don't know. I mean, it's already at 30. It's at 28. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's risky. And I don't know who the KD collectors are. I don't know very many KD collectors, to be honest. And I get that there's more investing than anything else going on. But I mean, everywhere I go right now, it's LeBron. Everyone just wants LeBron. Everyone's wants LeBron cards, which is funny because 2 months ago, nobody wanted LeBron cards. In November in Dallas, I couldn't give away LeBron Topps Chrome PSA 9s.
I think they were selling there for like, I want to say
32, 31. Oh, PSA 10?
Or PSA 10. PSA 10 is probably, I want to say 8K it got down to.
I remember like 95, but yeah, like 9, probably 8,500, something like that. It might have touched that.
And now it's a 17K card on eBay.
Touched 17K on PWCC last night. You bet. Brand new label, PSA label. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's just going to be a card in this market that's going to just see. Even I mean, I think 17K right now is like a fair market point, but like we could be sitting here next year and that's a 30K card.
I don't not believe it. So I mean, but like I look at that and that's a value setter, right? That card's a value set. Well, it's a value setter, but if you want
it's the LeBron Chrome 10 and it's the Luka base 10 for like the young. That's what I would say.
Yes, the Luka 10, but I would argue that the Kobe Topps Chrome 10 is the true value setter. That's what made the LeBron.
The Kobe
crazy.
went up. The Kobe Chrome 10 went up before the LeBron Chrome 10 went up.
Correct, because when Kobe passed away, Kobe stuff went bananas, which then set off this locomotive of LeBron stuff because people were saying, well, if Kobe's worth this, LeBron has to be worth this. That's one of the things that caused this perfect storm in the market was Kobe's death. So yeah, LeBron's a little derivative, but at the end of the day, LeBron is still a value setter for all.
And I want to get into Kobe because I just actually checked eBay. One of those what's it called? Stardate rookie PSA 9s on eBay just went for $3,000. And I was talking to Ryan from Burbank. He said somebody walked into the store last week, saw a PSA 9 that they had and paid $3,500 for one. That tells me this is a beautiful card. Like, it looks good. It looks clean. People want it. Like, I just think that this card just, and granted, I have two of them. I have one PSA 9 that I actually traded for 2 days ago from Burbank, and then I bought a BGS 9 3-4 weeks ago.
Quick note, that BGS 9 you bought was mine that I traded Burbank. I traded Burbank straight up for an MPJ Silver 10. So just so all the listeners know out there, I'm not perfect, and I do not know what I'm doing sometimes.
But no. But you missed out the point where, what was that card when you got it? What grade was that?
It was a PSA 7, but...
So Coleman got a PSA 7. Did you crack it? You cracked it.
No, I didn't crack it. It was a PSA 7 that was cracked at Burbank. I bought the raw copy. And I bought the raw copy because I looked at it and I was like, okay, I mean, it's got a shot at the BGS 8.5. It's not a slam dunk. I came back at BGS 9. I was really stoked about that. But BGS is notorious for being more lenient on the 90s stuff, whereas PSA is brutal on 90s stuff.
And that's one of the reasons I picked up a PSA 9 from Burbank. I was like, this is for everything, man. Like, BGS 9 stuff is just not selling as well as PSA 9 stuff in general.
No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. It's like 1.5x.
Like, so I was like, dude, let me pick up a PSA 9. Let me stash this because I like Kobe. I mean, I love Kobe. He's my favorite player. And I just think there's going to be so much demand for him. So, and I think it's a beautiful card. So that was the play there. And it's interesting because I was looking at, I've been dabbling in the Jordan market recently, which I'll talk to you about after the show. And a Jordan Fleer, I was looking at Jordan Fleer stuff and I was like, why do BGS 9s go for so much less than a PSA 9? So I was like talking to a different bunch of people. They're like, well, they graded it easier. I don't know if that's true. That's from all the Jordan people. That's what they told me. And then also, like, it just doesn't look as good. So I was thinking, well, like, maybe there's room here. Maybe a BGS 9 will catch up to a PSA 9. But I just wanted to get your take on, like, what are you feeling there? Like, do you think that BGS 9s are the buys? Like, or are you just sticking with PSA because that's the most demand?
It just depends what cards. So if we're talking about a Stardate Kobe, I'd probably buy a BGS 9 just because I'll take the discount.
And you can go somewhere and be like, look, this is what this card's worth. Probably because there's also not as much comps on it either on eBay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? So basically, let's just say a BGS 9 is 1,000, which it's not anymore, obviously. That's what I traded it at. And a PSA 9 is 1,500, which is what I thought that they were, which that's crazy they've gone up that much. Let's just say that, right? So with a PSA 9, since that's at the top of the market for a 9, you're basically like, you're hard pressed to find somebody at like 1,600, right? But a BGS 9, you might say, well, hey, look, it's still cheaper than a PSA 9. So like, there's none available. This is 1,200.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of just like the discount on stuff like that. But again, it just depends. Like there's all kinds of reasons. If it's 2018 Prism, right out of the gate, BGS was really brutal on that stuff. They still kind of are. So I'd rather have a BGS 9 if it was graded early.
You'd crack that baby and send it to PSA.
Right.
Yeah.
Because early graded BGS stuff, 2018 Prism is like probably PSA 10 quality. Whereas like PSA like was really easy on Prism and stuff. So it just depends on the card. And again, like I know certain ones, but I'm learning every single day. A lot of people will be like I've gotten some DMs and stuff that are like, hey, I have this card. Do you think I should crack it? Do you think I should, submit it or whatnot, or try and cross it to PSA or whatever? Most of the time, I don't even know because it's a card I have no idea about. I haven't studied how the card grades. I don't know anything about the market for the card. So if it's like, if it's a card that I know, that's one thing. But I kind of just stick to my own lanes. Like 2018 Prism, I know it really well. 2019 Prism, I know it really well because I kind of, had to start learning it and stuff. Kobe stuff, that Star Date was the first copy I bought. I just looked at it and I was like, I know how BGS grades and like I see some stuff on here, but I feel like everything looks pretty darn clean on it. The only reason why this got a 7 was because it's some stuff on the surface. Like, so I could see BGS being easy on that and giving it a 9. Again, like I just look at things in hand and just make a bet,
Facts.
So yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we brought up BGS 9 and PSA 9 stuff because we just had a question. Somebody asked, is it worth cracking a PSA 9 or a BGS 9 at a shutter to 10? I don't know if you saw the video that I last posted, Coleman, with the Trae purple disco stuff, which Shia thought, did not like, or fast break stuff. Shia did not like fast break stuff, but that turned out to be a fantastic investment. I bought a 9.5 min gem Trae fast break purple and a BGS 9, cracked both. I was like, fuck, the BGS 9 looks way better than the 9.5. I think the BGS 9 is going to get a 10. But I sent both of them in. I was like into both of them at like 1,800. I just got it back yesterday. I picked it up from PSA. The BGS 9 got a PSA 10, and then the 9.5 got a 9. DM'd Burbank. I was like, yo, what do you do, 6K? They're like, no, we'll do 5,500. I was like, 5,750. They're like, no, 5,650. I was like, cool. Drove up. I saw you there. Sold them out. So I do think that BGS 9s and even PSA 9s, if the card looks clean to you and like you know what you're doing, or if you're seeing these subgrades and they have good subgrades, I think it's worth the shot. Like that's what I've been doing, and it's been playing out decently well. And even
Absolutely.
and the beauty of BGS 9s, let me just get this in real quick. The beauty of BGS 9s, they're always going for a certain percentage less than a PSA 9. So theoretically, if you have a BGS 9, crack it, send it to PSA, when you get it back, even if it's at least a PSA 9, you still might have some room there where you're either breaking even or making at least a little bit of money.
I would say probabilities say you're right. What I'd say is be ready for there to be an indent on the back or something like that BGS missed. And all of a sudden now that's a PSA 6 or a PSA 7 or something like that. Like it happens. So like buyer beware. If you're going to do that, be prepared for the consequences. Probability says you won't get burned like that. Like it's not the case, but there are cards that are in BGS 9 cases, even PSA 9 cases, even PSA 10 cases that have a major flaw in them. And it was just missed by the grader. The same reason, the consistency that you're talking about with the BGS 9 turning into a PSA 10 and the BGS 9.5 turning into a PSA 9, that shouldn't happen, right? That doesn't make any sense. The same way that happens, the same way cards with indents on the back or some other massive flaw that just wasn't caught end up in a case. And if you can't see it through the case and you open it up, Now you have a card that has a flaw on it. Now you send it in, it gets a worse grade. Am I saying don't crack cards? No. I crack cards.
Just because it's in, Coleman is like an animal when it comes to cracking. So like Coleman cracks probably like BGS and PSA cases probably 10, 15 times a day.
I've cracked a few cases. I will say that. I will not say how many. I plead the fifth on that one. But I mean, just for instance, like I just cracked a Chris Paul Topps Chrome Refractor rookie card. It was a BGS 9.5 with 9 edges and 10 centering. So basically it was 9 edges. I looked around at the edges, didn't see anything, right? 9.5 surface, 9.5 corners. Couldn't really see the surface, but I was like, 9.5 surface, must be fine. Cracked it, opened it up, looked at it. There's a massive scratch on the surface. There's no way that card is going to PSA 10. I'm now going to try and send it back to BGS to try and get a BGS 9.5 again. Hopefully they do it. But I mean, like now I'm like probably going to get a 9. So that's a card that's going to go from 2K to like 1K. So I'm going to like basically lose $1,000 plus whatever money I have to put back into grading on it.
I would say this. We don't rip boxes, right? We don't rip product. Cracking cards in a way is our form of gambling, if you want to call it that. But it's honestly better odds than it would be than breaking boxes.
True. Very true. Because you can literally take a bath and opening a box. I will say another horror story, just because like people should hear the horror stories if they're going to hear the wins. If they're going to hear the wins where a BGS 9 Trae turned into a PSA 10, they got to hear how I cracked my Shea, my SGA Prism Blue Ice PSA 9, cracked it. It flew out of the case, and I basically barely caught it by pinning it against a table or a desk as it fell off, and it jammed the corner. So like just trashed the card, like $1,000 card trashed. So,
oh my God,
just beware. Like, look, usually it doesn't happen, but it happens. Accidents happen. So if you're cracking a case, I'm not trying to like scare people out of doing it.
You're definitely scaring people, Coleman. They're like,
good. I'm glad, because then you'll be more cautious of when you're doing it, and then you won't get mad at me when you crack it and the card goes flying out and it's trash, and you're just like, oh, geez, like, well, he did say that at least.
Okay, well that's like a beyond horror story.
Yeah, that's one.
And
of the
I honestly
ones.
you should have recorded that, because that would have been amazing.
I didn't think it was going to happen as a thing. I wasn't planning on trashing the card.
What did you do after that? I want to know. Like, what did you like? Were you just like, fuck? Or were you?
Yeah, there was, dude. Like, I mean, like I knew that the card will probably still PSA 8, right? And I still was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose a couple $100, and I got that feeling in my stomach, like I just lost a couple $100. Like, you know, like when you go to a casino and you just basically put $200 on black and it just turns up red and you just lost $200, and you walk away and you have that feeling of like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But it's like, no, it's a big deal. You just lost money. And nobody wants to feel like that. So yeah, I mean, it sucked.
That's an all-time bummer. But just to give perspective, Coleman has many successes. He just doesn't want to talk about it with cracking. But I want to jump into a new topic. It's a simple one. I'm in a couple group chats, and it's been interesting to talk with Luka. People saying Luka's not good anymore. Luka's trash. Luka's this. Luka's that. Somebody just asked, is Luka still even good? And at the same time, we're getting a lot of talk of Trae. Trae's the GOAT. Trae's going to be better than Steph Curry. Trae is better than Luka. How are you feeling about all this, Coleman? Where are you at?
Look, man, I'm still learning how to be a good investor, like as far as like what to buy, when to buy. And I just, I try to follow the guys that are really good at investing. And, Warren Buffett says you buy when there's blood running in the streets, right? And then you sell when everyone's doesn't want to let go of anything. So he says, be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy, right? So people say Luka's fat right now. I start looking at Luka stuff. And, it's not going to go down a lot because it's Luka. And when he sprained his ankle in the playoffs, his stuff went down like for a day or two before he hit that shot. But maybe his stuff goes down like 10%. I'm going to buy a couple things just because I'm going to bet that Luka figures it out, because as we talked about, I think a show or two ago, he was stuck in Slovenia a couple of months ago with no resources available to him. So he didn't get an off season. He didn't have time to practice. He didn't have time to do preseason. There was no preseason. There was no training camp, basically. There was, but it doesn't count. Like, it was like a week. So I'm going to bet that the Mavericks just haven't figured it out yet, and that them beating the Clippers, granted minus Kawhi, but that's no excuse. No team should get drubbed by 50 points. That's supposed to be that good.
An annihilation.
Right. So I guess we're just calling that a fluke, that they beat a team that's supposed to be a contender that didn't have their best player playing. Still an NBA team. They crushed them. And, yeah, they're getting out to a slow start. And Luka's fat. So with all that swirling around, I'm going to, flip a couple of LeBron things into Luka things like I did today. And it might bite me in the butt, like I might look back and say, whoops, shouldn't have done that. But, I'm just practicing, what I hear from great investors and stuff, which is when everybody wants something, move that thing, especially if nobody's letting it go. And then get the thing that people are like,
I agree. I think Luka's a buy right now. If you believe in Luka, if you're a Luka fan, if you like Luka, this is the time where you go and buy. Same thing I was saying about the Pokemon market. The Pokemon market was so hot these last couple of months. Now nobody's really talking about it, right? There's things like the Red Cheeks first edition PSA 10. That's a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 card right now, and a Charizard first edition Charizard is a $350,000 card. Meanwhile, the Red Cheeks pop, I believe, is 76 as a PSA 10. There's only 76 of them. So I'm like, look, if you really believe in Pokemon, go buy some Pokemon right now. If you really believe in Luka, this is the time to buy right now. If you really believed in Trae, it was the time to buy 2 months ago. So that's kind of if you really believe that KD was going to be healthy, the time to buy was 2 months ago or 3 months ago or over the summer when you can get I know, people are picking up refractor PSA 10s 6 months ago for, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, I don't know, something like that. 7, 8, 9K. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think that a lot of people get into this rhythm of, oh, something's hot, I should buy it because it's going to keep going up.
Absolutely.
And that's a tough game to play. That's why like grading comes into play because you're making your own margins. Cracking, if you know what you're doing, comes into play because you can make your own margins. Buying in the off season, that's a great thing to do because nobody wants to buy in the off season because nobody wants to sit on the money. Everybody wants everything to be quick, and that's just not how you can have a sustained profit. And I bet you, if you're trying to do stuff quick, you're going to lose money at some point. You're going to lose.
Absolutely. Real quick, just talking about Luka. Again, I'm not going to say it's the same thing, but Trae Young, November 26th, PSA 10 on Card Ladder. Shout out Chris and Josh. Was $730. Got up to a high, 1126. I'm sorry, 1128. No, 1126. It got to 737. Right. It then came down from that peak, and 1126 was what? 5 weeks ago. Came down to its low at 548, 1218. So it came down from 737 to 548 in 3 weeks. That was 1218. We are now 2 weeks later. It has shot back up to 762.
Wow.
750 is what it's going.
And I want to make sure I have this, like in terms of young guys, my favorite young guys, the guys that I buy and sell, Luka number 1, Trae number 2. Those are the two real guys that I'm comfortable holding in some aspect. And, I like them over Zion, over Ja, over Michael Porter, all those guys. So I want to make sure I have that on record. I think that Trae, which me and Coleman, you talked about, he said, like, look, if Trae can win some games, if he can win with the way he's playing, his price is going to go up a lot. And that's what we're seeing right now. Now, the question is, can he sustain that? And also the factor is, like, look, if you bought over the summer, you're 3Xing your money. There's some big money to be made. So, like, hey, like, I moved Trae and I put it into LeBron stuff. Or I moved Trae and I put it into Luka. You know what I mean? So I think that the other thing that especially when I first started that I was learning was like, hey, like once you need to be able to flip your wins and create more with it, right? If you're just sticking, like if you just bought, like let's say you bought 40 base Trae Youngs over the summer at $300 per, and you still have all of them, and now it's 747. Well, like, hey, like maybe move 15 of them, or maybe you trade into a LeBron Chrome 10 and then keep, you know what I mean? Like you have to be able to work that profit into other things and continue to grow that money.
Compound interest. Einstein said it was the eighth wonder of the world or something, right? Basically,
I feel like people like to get stuck into certain things, and then there's like an emotional attachment to it. I see like a lot of people.
Absolutely, which is one of the great things about cards.
But I think it's also one of the worst things about cards.
Absolutely, because it's not like a stock. You have no attachment to a stock. You're just like, whatever, it's a stock. Like it's not even something on my computer. Whereas a card is like, it's this thing you hold in your hand. It's a tangible asset. And then it's like of a guy that you watch on TV that you get all this joy from, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of emotion. So it's a double-edged sword, right? It's like great in that way, but then it's, it's bad in the way where it makes you hang on to it and stuff. But if you can get, if you can take the emotion out of it, like the people that are doing the absolute best right now are the people that are taking emotion out of it, because emotion is what makes the market run, right? Right now, Luka's fat. So everyone's saying how, everyone's like, that's people's opinions and people's emotions about what they think about Luka and stuff like that. And with the hype surrounding Trae, or the hype now surrounding LeBron and the championship, it's all emotionally driven. If I don't buy right now, the fear of, if I don't buy this right now, I'm going to miss out. And then the fear of, oh no, Luka's fat, I need to sell this right now. So if you can take emotion out of it and kind of just understand how these things work, those are the people that do the absolute best. But talking to your point, it's the people that take the emotion out of it as far as they get something. Cool. It's worth 600. Someone wants to offer me 700 for it. Gone. I held it for 2 seconds, had zero risk, right? Eliminating risk, because you're taking it and holding it only for a moment.
I think that's some great, I think it's just great advice in terms of, and I guess it depends. Like, I think a lot of our viewers and the people that are listening and watching, there might be a little bit of both. There might be some collectors, but there's also a lot of investors, a lot of young guys learning, trying to, make some money in this industry. And I think that there's a scenario where you could do both, right? You could flip, and you can also hold the cards that you really, really like or enjoy. It just truly depends on what you're coming into this hobby for.
Absolutely. And I would say, I do both. Like I collect Tracy McGrady cards, but I flip everything so that I can buy really nice Tracy McGrady cards, and I'm not planning on trying to flip those Tracy McGrady cards, but I know those cards well enough to where if I want to flip them someday, I can make a decent return, but it's not a great return based off of what else you can invest in, So it's like, absolutely. That's what makes this hobby fun, is the fact that you can buy stuff that you want to hold on to and collect, but that you can also use things to flip and get things that you would never be able to get, And like anybody that talks bad about flipping or investing, it's a bunch of elitist bullshit, because the best collectors in this hobby have all come up through flipping.
The one thing that I just could never understand, especially when I first got into this, there's this notion that if you're a flipper in the card industry, that's a negative. There's this notion that there's certain collectors that they're like, they say they're collectors, right? They say that they're collectors, and on the back end, they're doing the same thing that somebody that says they're a flipper are doing. They're buying, they're flipping, they're grading, then they're selling. Like it's all the same shit. But they're putting a tag on it that says, hey, no, I'm a collector, like blah blah blah. Like these are all the young kids or whatever it is, all the flippers, they're ruining the industry, blah blah blah. It just doesn't make sense to me whatsoever.
Look, like at the end of the day, if you can go from abject poverty to creating a life of comfort by flipping a piece of cardboard with another human being on it, you should be treated as a little bit better than how you're being treated right now. That's pretty amazing.
Well, the thing, and I think that the industry is changing where like there's so many of, younger guys and flippers and whatever getting into it, where like there's not so much a focus of, oh, these certain people are looking down upon what's happening, because the industry has grown so much that the collectors, I'm not saying are getting pushed out, but their opinion doesn't really fucking matter, right? But I feel like for like the new people that are coming into the industry, it's okay to like make an Instagram page and buy and sell cards, where like I feel like 6-12 months ago maybe that was not as normal. So I think things are changing.
Right, but I'm going to go back and attack these collectors a little bit, but because look, I'm a collector. Like I'm not just an investor or flipper. Like I've been a collector my entire life. I still remain being a collector, and you can't have one without the other. But I would argue every one of these people that has something bad to say about the investing aspect, if they had the cards that shot up crazy in value, that are now like, they don't complain about when their cards go up in value.
Yeah, they had all the time in the world to be able to buy up these cards that were, and they didn't, and they're mad because now they see the prices and they're like, oh, well, it's these people that are ruining the market. But it's like, hey man, like you were in it for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Like what was going on then?
100%, man. They're biting the hand that feeds them, because a lot of these people are like, like newly minted, cardboard millionaires, as Chris HOJ said, which I love that quote. And they're talking shit about investors and stuff, which again, like I don't want to turn this into a rant about like hating on collectors. Investors and collectors are like this.
No, they fuel each other. We talked about this before. They fuel each other.
One without the other. Yeah,
100%. I think we hit on it where like the notion that, a certain group of people can look down upon what others are doing just doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to you either. And I think that's the point that we needed to hit. And I think we did a good job of doing that.
We beat it up.
Yeah, 100%. I think we'll end it there. That was a good episode, man. Good shit. Happy New Year's Eve, Coleman. Appreciate it.
Happy New Year's Eve, man. Yeah. I hope you have a great New Year. With
any big plans for 2021? Or are you just kind of my mindset always every year is like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and keep it simple and just keep building everything up. Like I keep it simple, just same process for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I have like all these cool little ways to like create goals and stuff that are all well thought out, but I don't do any of it. I always end up just like saying like, okay, I really want this. This is something that I really want. So I'm going to move towards that. And I'm going to just, practice gratefulness and just keep going on, just kind of like what you're doing and stuff.
Facts.
So yeah.
Facts. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you follow us on there. That would mean a ton. And then also if you're watching on YouTube right now, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and then comment below if any questions you have so we can take those and use them for the next episode and what you agreed and disagreed with. So happy New Year, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next
want
pod.
Me to lock it down, but I told her to pass the key. You gotta slow it down, girl, you moving too fast for me. Nobody did it like this, so they wonder, they asking me if I can slow it down, cause it's coming too fast for me.